once lived a Zen master, Bokuju. He used to live inside cave, alone, most of time. He would sometimes loudly say Bokuju, his own name, and then himself would say, Yes, I am here. He would do this anytime, day or night. There were some disciples who used to follow him. They would hear this. Disciples were not able to understand its reason. So one day, one of his disciples asked him, Why do you call your name and then reply yourself to this? Bokoju replied, Wherever I get into thinking, I have to remember myself to be alert. So I call my own name, Bokuju, loudly, and moment I can say yes, I am here, all the thinking and anxiety disappears. When Bokuju got old in his last days for 2 or 3 years, he never called out his own name. Disciple asked, Master, you used to call your name all the time, but now you never do this. Why so? Bokuju replied, Because Bokuju is always here. Therefore there is no need to call him. Previously, anxiety would take me, cloud all over me. So I had to call Bokuju, and that moment anxiety would disappear. You have to come to deep knowing of your own self and mechanism of inner working. If you become alert, anxiety will disappear. And the another story, once a monk decided to meditate alone away from his monastery. There was a lake nearby. Monk decided to take a boat out there and meditate there alone. In morning, monk take his boat out and rowed it to middle of lake. Then he closed his eyes and began his meditation. After a few hours of undisturbed silence, he suddenly felt bump of another boat colliding with his own. Monk kept his eyes closed, but thinking about another boat, his anger started to rise. Monk thought to himself that he came to lake so that no one would disturb him, and still here came another boat and bumps into his boat. This thought made him angry. Monk, with his closed eyes, he sensed his anger rising, and by the time he was about to open his eyes, he was ready to scream at the boatman who dared to disturb his meditation. But when he opened his eyes, he saw an empty boat that probably floated to the middle of lake. At that moment, Monk understood that the anger is within him and it merely needs bump of an external object to provoke it out of him. For then on, whenever he came across someone who would irritated him or provoke him to anger, he would remind himself, other person is merely an empty boat. Anger is within me.